I'm Jolene T. Patricia. Plan your infographic design. First, in planning an infographic, find a story. Think of the story you want to tell before designing your infographic. The angle you choose may help to determine which information to include. Example, in this timeline infographic, this infographic design tells the story of planning and completing a project to start to finish. Infographics allows for limited space for content. The purpose of the infographic should be focused, and the layout should reflect the theme of information and to enhance the communication of it. Create an infographic outline. Before diving into your design, in your timeline, you should include your title, headers, subheaders, data, and any design details. Write a compelling title. The title should be catchy and descriptive. Readers should get a sense of what the information will be, to engage them what to read further, since having a catchy title will gain and encourage more readers. Use a grid design or wireframe for your infographic design. Grid and wireframes are the structural base to any design. Designing on grid allows us to easily organize elements and information, and this grid design keep the object and elements aligned. For example, in this image, it shows how the color aligned on a graphic design grid, and there's an option of using smart guides which help to align items automatically. Infographic design use a grid design system to create margins. It's good to practice to keep enough space between elements and the edge of your canvas to avoid visual tension. Infographic design can potentially have any size of margins, but it's important to keep the margin consistent all the way along the edge of your canvas. A good rule of thumb is to keep all objects and elements at least 20 packs, 1 square on the grid of your canvas.
I'm Leia May Sabino from BSHM 1B, and my topic is all about use the right infographic layout for your data. For example, you could use a one-column layout for a minimal infographic, or create a list infographic by splitting the layout into 2 columns. Here's an example of a 2-column infographic design. Follow data visualization best practices. Always start your infographic planning with pen and paper. This way, you can work through concepts and design roughly before finalizing a digital copy. Next, choose the best chart type for your data. The type of data you are trying to convey will determine which chart type is the best for your data. To decide which type of chart could best convey your data, you could first have to determine what kind of data you want to present. A single important number, a comparison between data points, a trend over time. The types of chart most commonly used in infographics are pie chart, bar graphs, column graphs, and line charts. For example, a column graph is one of the easiest ways to compare data. And to convey a trend over time, the most common type of chart to use is a line chart. But if you think of a more unusual chart that could convey the data effectively, don't be afraid to get more creative. For example, you can identify and show the trend such as sales over time, correlation such as sales compared to temperature, or outlines such as sales in unusual area. A good rule of thumb is that your chart should be easy enough to read that it only takes readers 10 seconds or less to understand. Incorporate different infographic design elements. Typography. Typography is a very important element for infographic design, and your one way to explain your ideas and information when images, graphs, or icons can. That's why it's important to choose the best font for your data. That being said, try to limit the amount of text you include your infographic. The best infographic have visual impact with the text acting as a secondary explanation for the visual content. This infographic design relies on icons, dates, and headers with minimal explanatory text. First and foremost, make sure your type is legible. In most cases, avoid decorative or script type as it tends to be hard to read. If you have to use small text or an elegant font, use it sparingly. It always helps to increase the line height of bodies of small text if it starts to become hard to read. To keep infographic design cohesive, limit your use of fonts to a maximum of 3 types. But also, don't stick with just one. A tasteful use of 2 brand fonts can create a nice dynamic and hierarchy of information. Alternatively, a number of statistics in one font type, next subtext in another creates a hierarchy of information.
Hey everyone, my name is Laura Daniel Tipalmani and I'm going to discuss to you about the use of photography in your infographic design, the use of contrast in your infographic design, and creating symmetrical and asymmetrical balance and using color effectively. Use photography in your infographic design. So be sure that the photos you use have a consistent style and lighting. Try to pick photos with the same lighting effects, same backdrops, same amount of dark areas, and etc. It's important to stick to a certain style, as images that clearly don't fit the set will distract from the information being communicated. If you're going for a simple modern use of photography, use only images with flat color or white backdrops. And if you're going for a neutral newspaper approach, use only black and white images, as photos that take up a majority of space in your infographic can distract from information. So, if you're going for a simple modern use of photography, use only images with flat color or white backdrops. And if you're going for a neutral newspaper approach, use only black and white images. So, contrast using colors. Color selection can have a big impact on your infographic design. Try pairing complementary colors to make your headline pop. And contrast using typography sizes. A header is usually the largest text on an infographic, followed by the subheader and then the body copy. Contrasting visuals. Using a tinted image contrasted with a chart over top to add context.
Hi, I'm Ashlyn M. Ravis, BSHM 1B, and this is the topic that I will discuss. Make sure there is consistency in your infographic design. In order for your infographic design to flow from start to the finish, the design elements need to be consistent. If you are using icons that are filled in rather than line art icons, then keep using the same style throughout the entire infographic. Keeping all these elements consistent will prevent your infographic from looking cluttered and will actually make it easier to read.
Hi everyone, I am Ms. Peraldan and I am going to report about the topic, which is creating infographics for social campaign. The last guideline in creating an effective infographic is to leave plenty of negative space in your infographic design. Negative space is the blank space surrounding objects in a design. Negative space has a big impact in your design. If your infographic design is too crowded, it can overwhelm readers and make it difficult to read the information. Creating space around the elements in your design allows readers the breathing room to process the information. Professional tip: if you are using a 16-point size, the line height should be no less than 1.2. Use this vintage style guideline sheet to have an idea in creating your proper infographic design. Leaving negative space as making sure there is enough bit space between lines of text. Just take a look at the example on screen. The first one, the spacing is correct and can be able to read easily, while the second one is a little bit confusing because the space between lines are too crowded.